Welcome to Beers and Buckets, the only podcast that discuss basketball and brews at the same time. We are part of Variety Sports Network. Check them out on Twitter at variety_sports_. I'm your host, Connor Caldwell. I'm joined by Dowell Harmon. Dowell, it's just you and I today, so we have a little bit more time for funsies. So how you been in the last since I talked to you 2 days ago?
Pretty good. Excited to talk Big Ten today. I had a call earlier with one of our clients. The first time I ever met with them, I was at we were essentially at our team meetup in Des Moines, and I was just wearing a Hawaiian shirt because I wasn't expecting to have any calls and got pulled onto it last minute. So since then, every time I've been on a call where I'm not wearing a Hawaiian shirt or a fun shirt, our main point of contact gets mad. So now I have to wear Hawaiian shirts on Thursdays because that's when we meet with them. So in the holiday spirit, not really holiday because it's the fall, but yeah,
that's fun. Channeling your inner Jim Hopper from Stranger Things.
That's right.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. I'm doing fine. I woke up. Well, I was already awake, but 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. last night, tornado warning, phone call from public service announcement. Thankfully, there was no damage to our house or anything, but just kind of crazy is my wife woke up. She came out. She's like, "There's a tornado warning." She's half awake. I'm like, "Just go to sleep. There's nothing we can do. Not gonna outrun it, So yeah, it was fine. Got a game tomorrow night. Looking forward to. So, man, got a bag of Skittles right here. I'm ready to go. So show rundown. Big Ten hot topics, team rankings, all conference teams and season superlatives. And I do have to do my beer review today. We can't avoid it. It's called Beers and Buckets, and we didn't do one last week. So I got to do. We're gonna hit that and out of the way first. So let's just start with that. Are you drinking a beer this morning or afternoon?
I'm drinking a nice orange ale. It is Soon Kist, I think is how you say it.
It's German, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's a citrusy sort of flavor. It smells very orangey. No, I am not. I do have a plan though for my beer reviews that we will be implementing on the next show. So
yeah, we got big things for the beer side of Beers and Buckets in the works.
I will not be going sober anymore.
Yeah. So just bear with us as we get back into the swing of things. But
beer with us.
Boo. I didn't get the bottle out of the fridge, but I do have 5 more of these. But I did. It's called Dunkin' Pumpkin by Harpoon Brewery in Boston, Massachusetts. It's a latte-inspired ale. It's 5.2% ABV with 0 IBUs. Untapped, forever will have these beers as 3.5 stars or whatever.
Yep.
So the crushability on it, 2 out of 5. The bottle design was a 2 out of 5. Pretty bland, but it does use the Dunkin' style logo, which I'm assuming they got permission to use. I'm not entirely sure, but it is from Boston, so probably.
Probably.
The aroma is actually pretty good though, because it has a pumpkin latte smell to it. It's 3 out of 5. The flavor was good. It's just again not crushable, so I gave that a 4 out of 5. And the appearance when I poured it in glass looked better than just your average beer, so it was 4 out of 5 as well. So overall, it came out to 3 out of 5. So Untapped was pretty spot on with it, but I do recommend it if you're looking for something just different that you're not trying to crush. So go check that out, Dunkin' Pumpkin by Harpoon Brewery. Okay, so Big Ten hot topics. Here we go, man. Here we are talking Big Ten. So let's start with the inevitable, right? Number 1 team of the Big Ten last season, Purdue. In 2022, they lost to St. Peter's. In 2023, as a number 1 overall seed, they lost to the 16 seed Fairleigh Dickinson University. Is the third time the charm?
I mean, I think the third time that is the charm means they have to get the number 1 seed in the NIT or something and lose to Coppin State. I don't know. They I don't know how they outdo themselves here. But no, in all seriousness, they'll probably do better than that. Will they? I doubt that they make it a lot farther because I still think they are, as we'll talk about, they are still a very similar team to the team they had last year,
Yeah.
which will have similar flaws.
Yep.
So I don't see this one really going much different, but there'll probably be some regression to them being the team that they actually are, but they'll run into someone that can actually game plan for them and be a very similar outcome to last year.
Yeah, I mean, and this is why we love college basketball, right? Like, it's not always about Jimmys and Joes in college basketball. Like, if you have a really good game planner, you can be competitive with these teams despite the lack of talent you might have. So, I don't know what to expect from Purdue this year in the tournament. I think in the regular season they're going to be really freaking good.
Yep.
But does that also speak to the quality of the Big Ten overall? A little bit. You know what I mean? So we'll see. But I do have a side note for this. So in 2022, National Player of the Year center Oscar Tshiebwe in Kentucky lost in the first round to St. Peter's. In 2023, National Player of the Year center Zach Edey in Purdue lost to Fairleigh Dickinson in the first round. Is a center winning National Player of the Year a cursed position for their respective team? Like, does it put them in a terrible spot if your center wins National Player of the Year and you are considered to be in contention to win the national title?
Where are you going with this?
Just, I'm asking a question.
I mean,
we've seen it 2 years in a row.
This feels like a trap. Yes? Question mark? I don't know. I mean,
this is my campaign for Hunter Dickinson to win National Player of the Year. So that way Kansas and their freaking cheating selves will get knocked out in the first round by Baja Blast Tech, as Bradley Smith would put it from Rep to No Good.
Oh, man.
How hilarious would it be, though, if Hunter Dickinson wins National Player of the Year, Kansas gets bounced to the first round?
Hey, that podcast episode after that loss, that's going to be fire. And everyone has subscribed.
I mean, like, coincidences are crazy. I just don't think, we haven't seen a back-to-back National Player of the Year since who? Ralph Sampson at Virginia in like 80s. We talked about it last year when, like, in the preseason, like, could Oscar Tshiebwe win it? Yeah, he could have. Will there be voter fatigue? Yeah, there will be. I think the same thing can happen here with Zach Edey. Like, are voters going to want to vote for him as National Player of the Year if he does the same exact thing he did last year? Probably not going to vote for him. They're going to find somebody else that does it, and somehow it's going to be a center, and it's probably going to be Hunter Dickinson putting up crazy numbers in the Big 12, which is the best basketball conference, and he'll probably end up getting bounced to the first round because that's what happens.
I'm for it.
Yeah, this is my campaign. You heard it here first. I'm going to tweet out, like, Hunter Dickinson, National Player of the Year campaign from the Beers and Buckets account with no context other than this. Like, not even going to post this clip and just see who catches on and retweets it. All right, Michigan State. Is this Izzo's last/best chance at a title?
I don't think it's his last. It might be his best. They should be really, really good this year. Speaking of another team that didn't lose like anything off of last year's team,
they only upgraded.
That's one big loss. But no, I mean, I don't have a sense for how long he will want to coach. I think even if they lose a couple guys off this year's class, or this year's team, in the draft next year, like, they'll still be able to reload because it's Michigan State and Izzo. But it might be his last best chance. Yes. So if you want to combine the two, but
yeah, I think that's the best way to put it, is his last best chance, because I don't think I think a lot of the team is going to be gone after this year. I don't know if he's going to be able to reload the way he used to be able to. They always give him the benefit of the doubt for somebody that his only title is like legally old enough to drink, but neither here nor there. Move on. Michigan, how hot is Juwan Howard's seat after failing to make the tournament with Hunter Dickinson, future National Player of the Year, and 2 first-round draft picks?
Connor, what are some bits that I have that I keep going back to?
You have a lot. I don't know. Be more specific.
Regarding coaching and coaching hiring decisions.
You hate the legacy hires because they get a longer leash, and they end up abusing it.
Yes. Which, like, they should abuse it. I love the like bit about how an NFL GM's job, or any GM's job, they're to winning the title is their second job. Their first job is keeping their job.
Yeah.
And like it's the same thing with coaches. So I mean, it's probably decently hot, especially considering how he replaced those players. I think that matters more, honestly, than the losing the tournament or not making the tournament last year. But I also don't think it's as hot as it would be if he was just Joe Schmo who hadn't played there and doesn't have the cachet that he does. Like,
he probably wouldn't have a job. If we're being honest, he probably wouldn't have a job if he wasn't a legacy hire. He'd probably be out by now.
Yeah, you could definitely. It wouldn't have shocked me if he was Joe Schmo and got fired. But so it's probably hot, but not as hot as it should be. I guess is my answer.
Yeah, I agree with that. That's for sure. Just it's insane the amount of talent that they have amassed in the last 4 years.
Yeah,
and really they have that Sweet 16 loss to show for it. Like that's it. It's crazy. But
winning's hard, man.
It is hard. It is hard. I mean, but seeing what Franz Wagner is doing in the NBA now, and what he just won a world championship in FIBA, like that's the kind of talent he had, and the usage that Franz Wagner had versus what Hunter Dickinson was being used at. That just blows my mind. But I guess college is still behind in that regards, where we still are very center dependent, despite the rest of the world saying like you don't really need to be dependent on a center like that. So
it is. It's also 2 years of skill development will really help a dude like Franz Wagner, which you just don't have, which is always going to be baked into college basketball because you don't have the time. Like all that can help those guys is time, and that's something you don't have. So yeah.
All right. And the last hot topic question: Indiana and Illinois. Pick one to make a deep run in the tournament. Gun to your head. Who are you picking?
No. I don't want to. Indiana, I think they probably have the best player of either of these teams. I don't know. Indiana's so weird because they lost so much from last year's team, and
they lost a lot, but they replaced it really well, and they kept important pieces. My thing, so I'm picking Indiana. I love Matthew Meyer. I love, or they lost Matthew Meyer. I love Terrence Shannon Jr. That's the only person on Illinois that I like. Like, I hate Coleman Hawkins. Can't stand the kid. Dane Danger has a cool name. Still can't stand him. You know what I mean? Like, Ty Rodgers, just a fine guard. You know, nothing spectacular there. So, like, Illinois, really, it comes down to Terrence Shannon Jr. It falls a lot on him. Indiana got the transfer, Khalil Ware from Oregon. Got the freshman that wanted a bigger role instead of hiding behind Duke players that came back that weren't expecting. Got Anthony Walker from Miami, who was on a Final Four team. Like, that's a good player, right? So you got 3 guys, plus you kept Xavier Johnson and Trey Galloway. So like you have a lot of good quality returning pieces, and you got experience coming in the front court, and you got just a 5-star phenom and coming that can do kind of whatever you need him to do. I think Indiana has a better chance to make a deeper run in the tournament than Illinois.
Do I go shooting or height supremacy? Because because that's essentially the debate I'm having with myself right now. Like Trey Galloway is by far the best shooter on either of these teams. Xavier Johnson's also a good shooter. So I think offensively they should be much better
If I
than
said
Illinois.
if I said winning the Big Ten tournament or finishing like third in the Big Ten, probably go Illinois in this scenario. But I'm talking about tournament success and how it translates because Illinois has just crapped the bed every year. Indiana has
Yeah, and
two, but
they also just like don't have any like true guards.
yeah,
Like a lot of
they don't.
their guards that play the guard position are like
They're like hybrid.
wing,
Yeah,
which great for height supremacy, big fan, but not good for offensive output. I'll go Indiana.
yeah. I think Indiana's the choice here. So, okay, let's move on. Team rankings, where we think they're projected to finish at the end of the year. I'll let you go first. Who you got?
I have Purdue. I think that they still unlocked a level of like where people will know how to beat them more, but executing that plan will be more difficult. And there's a big difference in playing 2 conference games every week than there is like being able to prep for them for a full week plus, like you do in the NCAA tournament. I also my 1-2 are very, very close. I think there's a clear top 2 here. The other team that I have at second just has more to kind of figure out how the pieces work together more, just because they have more incoming talent that will actually contribute at a greater degree. So I think Purdue just kind of is like, let's run it back from last year. And for the most part, they succeed in that.
That's fair. I have Michigan State as my 1. Main reason being is because in the Big East episode, I had Marquette finishing first again. And I just don't think it's going to go chalky like that again 2 years in a row for the 2 different conferences. Like, I just don't think that, I just don't trust those odds, right? So I think Michigan State comes in at 1 because they return a lot. They were a really good team. They lost Joey Hauser, correct, but they replace him with Xavier Booker, Jeremy Fears, Cohen Carr, and Garrick Norman. So Xavier Booker is a top 10 recruit, top 12 recruit, whatever he ended up finishing. 6'11" freshman that has like guard like handles. So it's a matter of his motor. So
yeah, like I said, they just have more to figure out. But I think Joey Hauser is the biggest loss of between the 2 of these teams. Michigan State is who I had at second. Joey Hauser is the biggest loss to replace, and they're replacing him with freshmen for the most part. So there's just more unknown there. I think they're the more talented team, but the most talented team doesn't always win the conference.
Correct.
So that was kind of my thought process.
Yeah. Now, and then I Purdue at second. Again, I think it speaks to the Big Ten overall, but we'll see. Who do you have at third?
Actually, looking at this now, I don't know why I hesitated so much on the Indiana-Illinois debate. I have Indiana finishing third. I think they're a pretty fun team. I know they lost Jalen Hood-Schifino and why am I blanking on his name?
Trace
Jackson Davis. But like you said, bring in Mackenzie Mbako, bring in Khalil Ware. Should have a couple guys step up. And I think they're 3 through 8, I think, are all a lot of interchangeableness. But just overall, like, height of talent, like ceiling kind of, I like them. So I had them at 3.
Yeah. I have Maryland at 3 and Indiana at 4. Almost splitting hairs there, but I think Jameer Young, like, being a 5th-year player, guard, like he averaged almost 16 points a game last year. He was really good. They don't lose a lot. They lost Hakeem Hart, that hurt for sure, but outside of that, they don't lose a lot of like consistent scorers and rebounders. So
For sure.
and they have a few couple transfers, few freshmen coming in. Deshaun Harris Smith, I watched some of his stuff before last night when I was making this. And Yeah, I think he's going to be a solid player for them all around.
Yeah, he should be their fifth starter, right?
Yeah, yeah. So, and then like I said, I have Indiana at fifth. I do that. Like I love Khalil Ware and Mackenzie Mbako is going to be really good. Anthony Walker is going to be good. We already talked about these guys. I'm just not like the reason I have him in fifth instead of fourth is because of Woodson. I just don't think he's that great of a coach. But I think he's better than Brad Underwood. So there's that.
Yeah. The bar is quite low there. Yeah, I have Wisconsin at 4. Like the team they brought back. I think Greg Gard is
that
solid.
Seat's got to be a little hot though, right?
Like yes, yeah. I mean, yeah, but they're also just a weird school that they're just a weird school that like doesn't really
they don't care
cycle through. Yeah, essentially, yeah. Their guards all shoot it pretty well. I mean, their top 4 guards, Chucky Hepburn, Matt Klesmit, and AJ Storr are all 38+% 3-point shooters.
Tyler Wall was their go-to guy last year. He's in his grad year. He's pretty good.
Yeah, Chucky Hepburn is also just a stud. He'll be one of the best guards in this league. So I like them to finish there. Yeah, if they don't do much with this, Greg Gard does probably get his seat probably does start to melt a little bit from the heat, but
they only lost Jordan Davis. They add in, like you say, AJ Storr and a couple other freshmen. They were tied for 11th last year in the conference. So like if you have him finishing 4th, like absolutely he buys him a little bit more time. So yeah, we'll see. So you have Wisconsin at 4, and who you got at 5?
I just made a change to one of our superlatives down there. I have at 5th. I have Maryland, who you had at 3. Jameer Young. Speaking of good guards in the league, Jameer Young, great. Yeah. I mean, just echo all the things you said. I think that, like I said, a lot of these teams are interchangeable. I think there's going to be a ton of Big Ten teams that are either like they're kind of going to be what the SEC is this year, where you have your top 2 in football, your top 2, and then you have just like a rotating cast of teams that are ranked 20th to 25th or in the like others receiving votes, and you just kind of all cycle through like around the 25th to 30th best team.
Yeah.
They'll probably have a ton of teams make the tournament, but all as like 6, 7, 8, 9 seeds kind of deal.
Yeah, I have Illinois as my 5th team. Again, this is more because of what Terrence Shannon Jr. can do. Coleman Hawkins, even though I can't stand him, like he's still a consistent player, like for what it's worth. Marcus Domask from Southern Illinois, he's going to be their starter that replaces Matthew Meyer. So we'll see what if he can fill that role in well. I think they'll be fine. I guess Quincy Geyer, I don't know how to pronounce it. Geyer, I don't know. Transfer from Oregon will also be another starter for them. So they have 2 transfers in their starting lineup. So we'll see what happens. Like you said, I just don't trust the guards. But in the Big Ten, there's only like a handful of really good guards, it seems like. So like when you're going up against Purdue one night, like your focus is going to be on Zach Edey. It's not going to be on the backcourt slashing you. So
true.
So we'll see.
Who do you have next?
The Buckeyes of Ohio State. Chris Holtmann is 6th season. Losing Bryce Sensabaugh obviously hurts, but they got Jamison Battle from Minnesota. They got Dale Bonner from Baylor. So they got a couple of guys with some experience at the Power 5 level, and then they have a bunch of freshmen. And then they got a transfer from Penn State, Evan Mahaffey. But they kept Bruce Thornton, which was a solid keep because he's a quality guard. He averaged like almost 11 points per game. So we'll see what happens. But I do think like this is like that seat's getting a little hotter for Holtmann. I don't think he's out just yet. But after having the talent that he had on Ohio State last year, he's going to have to really nut up or shut up kind of deal this year.
Yeah, they need a big step up from their freshman class last year. The guys that are sophomores now, Felix Okpara, Roddy Gale, Bruce Thornton, like you mentioned. They need those guys to step up
Yeah.
and really take like that next step. Also, Scotty Middleton, one of their guards they brought in, is really, really good. I have them at 8. I had Illinois at 6. So we don't need to really go over that.
No.
You did a pretty good job of covering them. In between them, I have Northwestern at 7.
And I have them at 8, so I have Wisconsin at 7 and Northwestern at 8. So we're pretty much like splitting hairs, like passing between those two. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. First time we've really talked about them. They bring in a couple transfers. Ryan Langborg from Princeton should slot into their starting rotation as kind of like their third guard. He'll play the 3 probably. Chris Collins. I didn't know Chris Collins had been there for 11 years. That's kind of wild.
Yeah.
Exciting. They made the tournament last year. Great stuff. They lose a couple pieces. Chase Ottage is the main loss, but if Boo Buie and his incredible name, if he wasn't a household name already, I think he will be this year because he is the last of those really great guards that are kind of few and far between in this league.
Yeah. Blake Preston's a name I feel like I know, but I don't know why I know it. I know he went to Liberty. That's all I know about him. But I feel like that's just like one of those names that like sticks out. I don't know why.
Let's see if we can figure out why. I don't know why he would.
I don't know.
He's from Charlotte.
I can't figure it out. But oh well. I have Northwestern at 8. I had Wisconsin at 7. So we both have Iowa at 9. Let's talk about Iowa here for a second. Freaking nepotism. Like he took over Boeheim's whole flow, right? Connor McCaffrey's left, but then the other McCaffrey brother is Patrick's back in the starting lineup as a redshirt senior. So
this seems to be a theme among Iowa teams. Their football coaching staff is Kirk Ferentz, Brian Ferentz, who will probably get fired. I'm skeptical on if they actually fire him. But yeah, then you have the McCaffrey kids playing for their dad here. Sadly, no more Murrays on the team. That'll be a pretty big loss.
Sucks.
Stop me if you heard this before. I think Iowa's offense is going to be really good, and I think their defense is going to be really bad. So
it's the exact opposite of their football team.
Yeah, true. And is how they've operated for the last 5 years in basketball. So
they need to do the Dragon Ball Z fusion dance.
Yeah, exactly.
They'd end up with a really bad offense and a really bad defense.
Probably.
Yeah. They did get a transfer from Valpo, Ben Kirk. I don't know how to pronounce it, but it's like he had almost 20 points a game last season, albeit at Valpo, but he's a 6'9" grad transfer, so should be an instant impact player for the Hawkeyes there.
Yeah. They should be a fun team to watch, if nothing else.
Yeah. All right, who do you have at 10?
The Cliff Omarui-led Rutgers Scarlet Knights. Weirdly, a hard place to play. I feel like every team in the Big Ten that goes to Jersey Mike's Arena ends up losing, which is just funny. I also just like Cliff Omarui, so that's why I kind of threw them here.
Yeah,
I think that there's a very clear drop off from 8 to 9, and then I think there's another drop from 9 to 10, and the teams we have left. But Rutgers is fun. I think they added Noah Fernandez from UMass. That should be a pretty solid addition. He was like a 13-point per game guy and shot 45% from the field. So he brings some much needed shooting to that team. But losing Cam Spencer, Caleb McConnell is definitely going to be tough. But I like them more so than some of these other teams in this kind of bottom tier of the Big Ten.
So I actually have Rutgers at 11. I have Penn State at 10, which is like, ooh, spicy take. Mike Rhodes in his first season coming from VCU. Like, I feel like the expectations are low, and that's why he's going to be able to succeed. He brought in 10 new players. There's one freshman on this team, and there's 4 sophomores on this team. The rest of them are juniors, seniors, or grad transfers. The starting lineup features 2 seniors, 2 juniors, and a grad transfer. Puff Johnson, solid player. I know like his stats didn't really show it, but he's a solid player. Ace Baldwin Jr. is going to be the guy for Penn State, and I think he's going to be really good. And when we talked about it before, how shallow the guard depth is in this league, he's going to stand out, and I think he's going to will them on some games, and they'll be a sleepy team that people aren't going to want to face. And they're going to outkick the coverage, right? Yeah, sure.
Because I kind of think they're going to be sleepy.
They're going to outkick their coverage, in my opinion. I think they're going to surprise some people. So I have them at 10.
Interesting. Yeah, I have them last. So I think they're going to be bad. But Ace Baldwin's really good. Next, I have Nebraska. I have Nebraska and Michigan. The next two, we're going to talk about Michigan, just how much they lost. They did a decent job of like bringing people in. Olivier Kamoa, is that how you say his name? From Tennessee. Yeah. They bring in Amari Burnett from Alabama. They have a couple other freshmen that are coming in. It's just like I just don't see it. I think they're going to struggle offensively just because they don't have much shooting on those. Like Kamoa is a fun piece to add, but doesn't really add much from a shooting perspective and a spacing perspective, which I think will be their kind of struggle. So have them at 12. Nebraska, they're a weird team too. I don't like any of these bottom teams.
Yeah, it's not fun. Nebraska, like Hoiberg's in his 5th season there. They lost just 1 double-digit score. Oh, 2 double-digit scores, excuse me. They didn't replace it really well, like at all.
No.
And even like they got Aaron Lewis from Iowa, but is he even going to be able to play? Ulyss? He's not even going to be able to play. So it's like,
yeah,
this is weird. Bryce Williams from Charlotte, that's a solid get. I know you've probably seen him a couple times when they played Wake.
Yep.
So
he's
like,
solid.
It's just like there's nothing left to be desired on this team. That's how I feel about Michigan too.
I will say their shooting does look pretty solid. They have they'll have like 4 or 5 guys that are 35% plus. So they could go on a little run if they are able to get their offense going. But I'm skeptical on the like consistency with which they can do that.
Yeah. And with Michigan, like we've talked about probably too much. I don't care. Like that's not as good as the team that they had last year, and they didn't make the tournament last year. So we'll see. And then I have Minnesota last. You have them at 13. Let's talk about them real quick, and then we'll move on. Is there anything that we can really talk about them? Like I don't know a lot about this Minnesota team, like pretty much at all.
Dawson Garcia is really, really good. I think so. I have them at 13, Penn State at 14, like I said earlier. Both of these teams will be bad, but will be fun to watch because they will have one player that is really, really, really good.
Yeah,
and Dawson Garcia is Minnesota's. He's a senior after transferring from. Did he transfer straight from Marquette, or did he go somewhere first?
I feel
like didn't he go to UNC for a year?
Oh, it was Georgia. Was it Georgia Tech? Oh, well, it was UNC. It was UNC.
Okay, yeah.
He didn't.
So he is now at Minnesota in his 2nd year, and he's going to be really good. But the rest of their team's kind of stinky, which is why I have him at 13. You have him at last.
Yeah. So, okay, let's move on to our draft.
Oh gosh,
this one's going to be
checking myself out with these because you keep being mean.
Let's do it this way. Let me find a coin here.
I was gonna say I feel like that we need to do this to make it
because I always get the 2nd pick and so I get the turnaround. So call it in the air. What do you want? Heads or tails?
Give me heads.
It's heads. You got first pick.
Hey, I will take the giant man himself and go Zach Edey.
That's fair. Okay, then I am going to go. Who do I want to go with? it really doesn't matter the order in which we take them, right? So it's like if I pick, if somebody's second, it's more securing just like a good spot. I don't know.
Hey, you draft however you want to draft, man.
Well, I'm gonna go Jameer Young, and then I'm gonna on the turnaround hit Terrence Shannon Jr.
All right, cool. I like that.
Or what do we consider Terrence Shannon Jr.? A guard forward hybrid? Like he's not.
Hey, do whatever you want.
No, I genuine question. Like what we consider?
I would
him.
say he's a forward.
He's like a wing, right?
Or like, yeah, wing would be, but that's obviously not like an actual.
Yeah, I'm gonna put G/F, and there we go.
There we go. All right. I'm gonna hold on. I need to check one thing real quick.
I knew you were gonna end up with this kid.
I kind of want to make you pick between those two. I'm gonna go Boo Booey, and I'm gonna go Dawson Garcia because I think that he will be a big forward for them. Plus, we went really, really heavy on top teams in the Big 10 or Big 12, so trying to not do that this time.
Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go.
I'm also hoping that you make my decision on another one just easy so that I don't have to pick.
I'm gonna go Xavier Booker.
That does not help me.
And then I'm gonna go Cliff Amarui.
Also doesn't help me. You're the worst. No, now I have to pick because I have to turn here too.
Or Cliff Amori, I think is how it's technically supposed to be pronounced.
Yeah, it's always Omarui to me.
Yeah.
No. Do you want to guess while I wrestle with myself? Do you want to guess what I'm struggling with right now?
Are you struggling with like Ace Baldwin and Tyson Walker or something like that?
Tyson Walker is one of them.
I don't know. I don't know who the other one would be.
Trying to pick between him and AJ Hoggard because I think AJ Hoggard is also really good.
Yeah.
And
so somebody from Michigan State because you haven't finished second.
And they're like, to me, they're very, 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 very close. So I'm like, what do I do? Hold on, let me go look. Maybe that's what I do. This is stressful. Why do I do this to myself every time? Make a decision, Dowell. I'll say that the Michigan State guys cannibalize themselves. I'll go Ace Baldwin. And then I'll go another transfer and do Ben Crikey. Because I think he's going to get a ton of usage. We've seen Iowa use their big men. I think they score a lot. So we'll go with him.
Okay. So then I have the last one here. I'm going to go with, I feel like you teed it off for me. I'm going to go Tyson Walker.
That's probably the person that it should be.
Yeah. I think between the shooting, like if we were like to compare these, like got a decent ball hand, like got good ball handlers, you got decent shooting across the board. You got a kind of almost unicorn style player and a freshman there. And then you got a lockdown center that isn't Zach Edey, but he's probably the second best center in this league. So I'll take it. All right. So there we have our first team all Big 10, and I'll post that later today. So a little teaser for you guys. So you guys, if you're listening to this, you've probably already seen this, but there we go. Season superlatives. Let's go. Player of the year. We both have the 7 foot, 1,000 feet, whatever you want to call him, Zach Edey. It's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Sadly.
Yeah. It's inevitable. He's Thanos of the Big 10.
He really is.
Who do you have as your coach of the year?
So I switched this on the fly, like I said earlier. I have Greg Gard with Wisconsin. I think Michigan State and Purdue are both so expected to be so good that I don't think either of their coaches will win it. So to me, it's like who kind of finishes near the top. Also, like you said, Greg Gard, you kind of convinced me to do this with Greg Gard finishing. They finished 11th last year. And I think people will see essentially him bringing back the same team and it flipping to them if they finish in the top 4, like I have them, that he gets Coach of the Year. But I could see like literally 6 coaches getting votes in this, and it
Yeah,
again
it's
super weird.
this is one of the hardest Coach of the Years I think we've had yet.
Yeah.
But I have Kevin Willard from Maryland winning it. They were 5th in the conference, tied for 5th in the conference last year, and in the second season, I think I have them finishing 3rd. So like finishing top 3 in the conference be pretty good.
So essentially, our guess is, well, I guess I have them. Yeah, I have them 4th. If you finish 3rd or 4th in this conference, you're winning Coach of the Year because you're not one of the top 2 teams and
in the country. Yeah, I agree. All right, so who you have as your freshman of the year?
I have Mackenzie Mbako. I mean, he's going to have a huge role. Obviously, having to replace Trace Jackson Davis and Joe Hood-Schifino. He doesn't have a hyphenated name, which makes him drop down a little bit, apparently, on the Indiana side. But no, he's my pick for freshman of the year. Definitely one of the top rated guys.
He was right there for me on that, like very close to picking him. But I've been
probably one of these 2 that we're picking between.
Yeah, I've been on the Booker train, so I'll stick with it. Xavier Booker as my freshman of the year. My transfer of the year was almost who you have, but I went with Kalel Ware, and because I think his role, his impact at Indiana, I have them finishing 5th or 6th or something like that. I have them finishing 4th. I think he's going to be a big reason why he's probably going to be the 3rd best big in this league. So there we go. Kalel Ware, transfer of the year.
I have my guy in my all Big Ten first team. So Ace Baldwin is my pick. Going to be a huge role for Penn State. So I have him kind of there as my transfer of the year. There are a couple other guys that I considered, but I feel like he's the one.
Yeah. Who's your breakout player of the year?
I mean, he's not really breakout because he was really, really, really good last year.
I say.
But I feel like he might like blow up and be one of the biggest players in the country. So that's kind of why I'm saying breakout. It's Boo Buie. I think that Northwestern's such like a sleepy program in general that I feel like they're going to kind of, now that they made the tournament, I feel like it'll be a big story. Plus his name helps. I could see him being one of the kind of storylines of college basketball for a little bit. So
yeah,
he's my pick.
I'm with you on that. I have Chucky Hepburn from Wisconsin as my breakout player of the year. He was pretty good last year when I watched them. They weren't a great team, but I think they'll take a step up. Obviously, I have them finishing higher than they finished last year. I'm finishing 7th. You have them finishing higher than that. I think Chucky Hepburn's the reason why. I mean, he averaged almost 13 points a game last year. I think he could take a step up, maybe average like 18, and just call his own number a little bit more and call Tyler Wall's number a little less.
If he can finish at the rim, only shot 37%. He has a higher 3-point percentage than field goal percentage last year.
Yeah,
he can really work on that. That could be a big help for that Iowa team.
They don't call him Chucky for nothing, man. He just chucks him. Yeah,
he should do more of that because he's really good at chucking.
Yep. Northwestern is my team that scares me the most. So imagine it's like Tuesday night, sleepy, like 9 p.m. game. You don't know, like you don't know what to expect. Northwestern's the team that's gonna scare me the most in that regards, of like having that weird matchup that is inevitable when you play, when teams play college basketball, right? So that's the team who I have. Who do you have?
If you are on the road, it's Rutgers because, again, no one goes into Jersey Mike's arena and wins.
Not in Danny DeVito's house.
That's right. But, no, I picked Iowa. I think this Iowa offense is going to be absolutely insane. It's what McCaffrey does there every year. And that, like, there can be games where they just literally score and you can't do anything about it. So that's why I have them here.
All right. Who is your best prospect in this year in the Big Ten?
Someone we actually haven't talked about, kind of filling the shoes of Bryce Sensabaugh last year. Scotty Middleton is going to be a freshman at Ohio State and should be a big part of their success if they have any this year. In our doc, I have Scotty Middleton ? You accurate because this will not be a good year for Big Ten draft prospects in general.
No,
there are a couple
terrible.
Will go, but I don't see I don't see any of these guys getting in the lottery, even maybe like top 20. So this was a very interesting question. I had to look at Sam Vicini's most recent mock draft, and no one was really in like the top 25 on that one from the Big Ten. So it was definitely a fun question.
Yeah. I again, for like the third time, I went with Xavier Booker, mainly because he's got really a decent handle, and a lot of upside, and he's got a lot of bounce. So he's 6'11" with a lot of bounce and a decent handle. Like that's just going to translate to the league better than most, especially in that dunker spot. Almost is giving me Derek Lively Jr. vibes, or Derek Lively second vibes, but I think he's going to have a little bit better handle and can be a little bit more of a threat to score than Derek Lively was. So, yeah. And then the sleeper team of the year, we already talked about it. I have Penn State, no doubt. There we go.
Northwestern was the one for me. Kind of similar to why they're the team that scares you the most.
Yeah. Yep, that makes sense. So, all right. The question you love to ask at the end of every conference episode, what you got?
Yeah, what are you most excited for this year in the Big Ten? I know the Big Ten is neither of our favorite conference, so not as much to be excited about on both of our sides. But what you got?
Man, it's hard to get excited about a conference that we don't really care about, that we don't really trust.
And a conference where a lot of these teams are essentially the exact same as the teams they had last year.
Yeah. They didn't really change a whole lot. I'm excited to see some of these teams that they get a lot of media love, but they don't translate. It doesn't translate into the tournament. Like I'm excited to see some of these teams take the next step into the tournament. Hopefully, like trivia time. How many when is the last time that India or not India? When is not even the last time? It was the last time. 63 other teams have finished in the top 25 since the last time that Indiana has finished in the top 25.
Damn.
Like it has been a long time. So like for the talent that they had last year, I'm excited to see like Woodson take that step up. Illinois, like they always get a lot of media love. Let's just actually like own it. To me, I'm excited to see this for the Big Ten to be like a nut up or shut up year. Like we said, I think for other coaches in the league as a whole needs to like you either need to take a step up or you need to like the media probably is like getting tired of this the narrative around it. Like Big Ten so loaded every year and blah blah blah. It's like okay, then prove it. Like do something in the tournament. Like your best team lost in the first round last year in the tournament. Like number 1 overall seed. Like that's not a good showing for them. So I'm excited to see them try and prove that wrong.
Yeah. I think I'm excited to see some of these guys on the lesser teams cook. It is what's going to make this conference fun, I think, especially for a conference that has the top 2 teams that seem like that they're pretty locked in as the top 2. Getting to watch just like Boo Booey. There's a lot of those smaller teams do have at least one really, really great player that will be contending for like all conference teams at the end. So I think that's probably the thing I'm most excited for. But like you said, this is not our favorite conference, so it doesn't excite me all that much.
It sucks. Yeah. All right. Well, we are coming in at like about 50 minutes here, so let's wrap things up. Next week, we are going to be talking for the last time that we'll be able to do this, Dowell, the Pac-12. It's time, so we are going to go all out. We'll try and get a guest on for that as we finish our last conference preview with the Pac-12, and then I think we're going to hit Pac-12 next week and SEC next week as well. So a little double dose there. Like we said, we're going to be hitting the beer side of Beers and Buckets a little harder than we have been so far in this season. We have some awesome things planned for you guys. I promise you won't want to miss it. So make sure you follow us on Instagram and TikTok. And obviously, please check us out on Twitter if you haven't. If you're following along on YouTube, thank you for watching. Like the video, it helps the algorithm, I promise. And and we appreciate you guys sharing this episode and sharing your ideas. If you have any other ideas for us to do with beer or buckets, by all means, send them our way. So
either one.
Yeah, doesn't matter. We like both beer and basketball. That's why we're here, and that's why you're listening. So this has been The Bottom Line, because Connor said so. You guys have a fantastic weekend, and we'll talk to you guys next week.
Peace.